What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to discuss one of the pressing questions of the day, which is, will the price of Omni and Ashes of the Star go down? I get this question probably like 100 times a day when I stream, and it's quite jarring, right? If you asked me at the start of the league if Omniscience would be like 30x 4 or 5 days into the league, or even 40x, I would have called you crazy. But it turns out I was the crazy one. I would like to admit that I was wrong about the price of it. I did not think that the drop rate would actually be 1%. And Ashes of the Star, which isn't even that crazy of an item, is not like completely game breaking like Omniscience. It's a very, very strong item and kind of build enabling. But Omniscience is one of the few items in the game that can actually just double or triple your damage. And it is crazy what the prices of these things are, and we're going to try to see if the prices are actually organic or if they actually manufactured by nefarious means. So first off, you might be wondering, why is an item so expensive? And like economics in real life, everything depends on supply and demand, right? So if something has a lot of items that drop but no one wants to buy it, the price will go down slowly as more and more people undercut each other, eventually until it reaches one chaos or one alch. So that's pretty much how everything works in life, including PoE. PoE is pretty much like real life, right? So GGG never actually releases the drop rate of the item. So before, I think people already knew it. Does say in PoE Wiki that the drop rate of Omniscience and Ashes of the Star was 25%, and that seemed about right. And people were getting them pretty often. Now, Omniscience was pretty easily farmable in SSF with a 1 out of 4 drop rate. However, they completely said that they were going to readjust the drop rate, right? And the drop rate was readjusted to something around Savior or any T1 boss drops like Solstice Vigil or something like that, or Eternity Shroud. So the item is incredibly, incredibly rare. So this item is on Savior tier rarity or Eternity Shroud rarity, and it's one of the rarest items on the loot table. Now, because it's so rare and it also has incredible supply, every single person is trying to use Ashes of the Star or Omni, and we can see this last league. Like, let's go look at the builds from last league, right? Last league, we have Arch Nemesis. Number one item almost is that actually it is the number one item that's being used. Is 37% Ashes of the Star, and Omniscience is right around 24%. So with the item that rare and the demand that high, you create this scenario where it is super, super crazy. The price will go up and up and up. And another thing to note is that price fixing also happens when the supply is too low. It is incredibly easy to price fix an item when the supply is too low, and we can see how we can do it, right? So here we have Crystallized Omniscience. I took these screenshots literally like 10-15 minutes ago, and the price here is 32x, which is actually just crazy. Ashes of the Star is nearly 40 exalts. So you can see here, this is the number of results. A lot of people ask, how can you judge if an item will go down in price? And the answer lies in the number of results. The more results there are, the harder it is to price fix. Once you see an item that gets like 50 results, the price will inevitably go down slowly over time. But if an item has like 16, 10, or 8, it is not going to probably go down for a while, right? And when the item is super, super low, someone could potentially buy up all the items, reprice it higher. So if there's only like 5 or 6 of them up at a time, and some of these people might already own the Ashes of the Star that's being listed, and this is actually very commonplace at nighttime, and that's why you can see these huge spikes of prices during the night, and then you wake back up and the item is suddenly like 10x higher. So what happens is you can buy up every single Ashes of the Star amulet. Say you bought up all of these ones right here, and then you repriced it at 45 exalts. The people who wake up and see that their amulet was 35 exalts and they get instantly PM'd by like 5 people trying to buy it will realize, oh, something is wrong. I'm going to readjust the price of my amulet. So that is how you can do it. You pretty much just reprice the whole market, buy it all up, or it's a group of people doing it, whatever the case is. And then you can change the price, and anyone who logs on afterwards will get sniped, or they will readjust their price accordingly. And that's how you create these artificial spikes in prices. That's not to say that the price of the amulet wouldn't eventually go there, but this causes the price of the amulet or price of any item that's being price fixed to go up a lot faster than it normally would. And that's not to say that these items aren't really in demand. Like, price fixing only works because these items are so high in demand and have a low supply. So it just creates this perfect storm of creating such a high price for Omni and Ashes of the Star. Next up, we have, will the price go down? Like I said, this depends on how money are available, as price fixing is impossible with a larger supply. So I do eventually think that more and more people will get to the end game, and I do think that there are kind of a lack of people even in maps still, or not in maps fully, but right now people kind of struggled at league launch. And there's something to know is that player numbers really matter for this thing, and that's why, oh, today's player number is pretty good. That's why when like people say player number doesn't matter, player number is really important for a healthy economy. The more players there are, the more items there will be, the more the items will be actually at the price rather than it being artificially inflated. Because if there's more people farming Omni and more people farming Ashes of the Star, then there should be enough supply for everyone's demand to be satiated, right? And another thing to note is that right now on PoE Ninja, most of the people playing builds are not playing Omni builds, and they're not also playing Ashes of the Star right away. I know Seismic can use it, but Aura Stacker is not on here, and neither is Tornado Shot. And Tornado Shot is at 2% right now. The Aura Stacker, and this is Spark Inquisitor, half of them. Aura Stacker is probably like 2 or 1% at the very best. So as soon as those people want to re-roll, and these people will have a lot of money, and they're trying to go Tornado Shot Omni and Aura Stacker, they'll pretty much buy it up. So you can see an even greater demand for the item as people roll out of the League Star builds that don't actually require Ashes of the Star and Omni, because these next builds that they'll be going into will absolutely require it. So that's why I don't think the price will go down in the short term unless they actually change the drop rate. As you can see here, they actually can tweak the drop rate and hotfix it without actually ever telling us. So it is possible that GGG do decide to tweak the drop rate because they see too many people complaining about it, and that the drop rate is fixed and the price will go back down slowly, right? So there's always some external factors at play that we can never really account for. Now, overall, is the amulet actually worth it? And a lot of people do ask me this. They should say, should I pay 40, 30x for Omni? And the real answer to this question is the amulet is definitely worth it for what it provides you, right? There's very, very few uniques or items in the game that actually double your damage or triple your damage. You can pretty much upgrade your weapon to a mirror weapon and it won't even give you triple the damage, right? So it is actually incredibly worth the upgrade. And in addition, Ashes of the Star gives you life reservation efficiency along with mana reservation efficiency, and it is almost impossible to get life reservation efficiency anywhere. And in terms of comparing like previous amulets that were super expensive, you remember this one. This is Unato's Vow. People were playing 120x for it. And this was also incredibly price fixed due to its rarity. I remember I bought this amulet at 15x, and some people thought, oh, this amulet is so rare, I'm gonna immediately price fix it. It went to 60 to 80x within like a day or two because I think I made a video about how OP it was. And Omni is much more OP than this. This is 30, 30, 30, and 23. So Omni actually gives 100 all res, right? So it's actually just a completely different tier of being broken. Although this item does have chaos res, but you do have to spend a bunch of divines on it. Now, is the state of the game healthy if there's another chase item to work towards? And I do think that it's a good idea to have another chase item like that's 30x or so or 40x, more of an in-between for someone trying to farm a mage blood. Although at this point, you can technically farm a headhunter for 30x, but a headhunter is pretty trash until Chris Wilson decides to fix it. So this is mainly frustrating though, because I know a lot of people have expressed the sentiment that why do I want to farm for this item when it was 1 to 2 chaos last league? A lot of people just can't get past the fact that this item was that cheap last league, and it feels like they're getting debated and tricked that they're trying to farm 40x for an amulet that was 1 to 2 chaos. And it is kind of hard to see past that. So maybe in the future, GGG should have balanced the game or the items drop rate around how powerful the item was, because the items were incredibly overpowered. And I think everyone who looked at the amulet initially to start would know that this amulet probably deserves to have a very, very low drop rate. I know that at the start of last league, I was incredibly surprised when I saw the amulet was so cheap and that there were so many up. I actually thought it was going to be by far the rarest drop rate, and no one would have even batted an eye, right? Because the amulets were just that good. And lastly, GGG kind of debated us, right? Chris Wilson literally said, feel free to plan your build And you can't really plan your build because no one really expected the item to be that rare. Very few people expected it to be 1%. And there's actually a lot of people's builds who just doesn't work without these core items. Some people can't get the reservation efficiency to work. Some people can't get the damage without Omni, and that's kind of a frustrating thing. Some people roll a build, they're trying to buy Omni, the Omni price keeps going up because they're kind of play casually and they just can't play the game without their build's damage. So that's actually the main problems I have with the whole adjusting the drop rate and not really letting people know it's going to be incredibly rare. But overall, definitely a good idea for extra chase unique for us to work towards. And I do think that more items like that in the mid-tier price range will create people playing the game and trying to upgrade their build or farm towards currency to make their build have that huge power spike. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Mage Bloods than me. And I did get my Mage Blood, actually, and I will be making an update video on what changes I made. But I do have a Brass Dome, no more Gale Sight, so everything's looking good. But thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time. Bye!